Good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 142. As always, I'm going to start us off with a tune.
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need, to wait in heavy harness on flooded folk and wild. Your new God's sullen people have devil and have child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threats of terror and check the show of pride. My hopeless speech is simple, 100 times made plain. To seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, what's love that hidden folly? Bring all your hopes to Lord. Take up the white man's burden, not tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your giving, and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden and reap his old reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard, the cry of those ye humor are slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our loved Egyptian guys? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop to less, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave, the silent, sullen people shall weigh your gods and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly prophet laurel, the easy young grudge praise. Come down to search your manhood through all of thankless years. No age with dear bought wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Take off the white man's burden through all of thankless years.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. As usual, my actually that wasn't my computer. That was actually StreamYards. I don't know what went on there, but they disconnected me. Hopefully, people can hear me in the chat. I don't seem to have any guests this evening, so this probably won't be a very long stream. We'll probably just have a bit of a chit chat about one thing and another. Someone asked in the chat earlier on, how are things down under? Well, first things first, the clocks went forward an hour at 2 a.m. this evening, which was 3 hours ago. So it's actually only 5:10 a.m. here, whereas normally I do this show at 6 a.m. So I had to get up an hour earlier. So that's not so terrible. How else are things down under? Well, we've still got the voice debate going on. Which is this Labour's idea to give Aboriginals a permanent voice in Parliament. You can hear me, can you, Valtra, in the chat? Thanks, guys. I beg your pardon for the normal boomerism technical difficulties. You'll have to forgive me. But anyway, the Labour is trying to give the Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders a permanent voice in Parliament. Which many of us believe is going to be basically an anti-white move. I don't think the Yes campaign is going very well. The people who are supporting it are the people you would expect to be supporting it. So like a lot of boomer old ladies, all your lefty students, many immigrants from the third world, and by no means all Aboriginals, strange to say. There are quite a few Aboriginals who are on the no side because it's going to be divisive. And of course it's going to be divisive if you give a tiny percentage of the population in Australia. I'm not quite sure what the population of Aboriginals is, but it's certainly not much more than 5% at best. Including the Torres Strait Islanders who live right up in the far north on some islands off the far north of Queensland, where I've actually lived as well, by the way. But they're far less than 5% of the population, and I'm of the view, why do you want to give this one particular group a particular input into the Australian Parliament? Because it makes no sense to me. They've got the same vote that I do. They get far more money than I do. Like if you're an Aboriginal or a Torres Strait Islander, you get money chucked at you from all over the place. And not just in terms of welfare, etc., but also, like, I mean, for example, when I lived on Thursday Island in Torres Strait, if you were a Torres Strait Islander and you wanted to become a boat skipper, you could do that course for free. Whereas if I tried to do it, or any other white person, it would cost you quite a lot of money. But that was free if you were a Torres Strait Islander. And that sort of stuff was going on all over the place. They were trying to get more Torres Strait Islander nurses, for example. And again, they were offering them totally free tuition to be able to do that. And that sort of stuff happens all over Australia for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And it has been happening for a long time. You know, the average amount of money spent on these guys, taxpayers' money, is much, much higher than it is on average white Australians. I mean, they still have social problems and what have you. There's quite a lot of domestic violence in the Aboriginal community, for example. In fact, so much domestic violence in the Aboriginal community that actually distorts the Australian figures. But of course, you're not allowed to talk about that, because if you do, that's racist. And this is what the Yes campaign have been accusing everyone on the no side of being racist, which is not really true, because, as I said, there are quite a few Aboriginals who don't support the Voice. We don't clearly know what the Labour government is going to do with this if it passes. Although all the polling that we're seeing at the moment is showing that no's going to win, and I certainly support no. I was actually talking to Lady of Shalott, who lives in the same state as me in Australia, earlier today, and she was saying that there's quite a few. She lives in quite a posh area, and the area I live in is not so posh. It's more sort of tradies and people like that. And in Lady of Shalott's posh area, there are quite a lot of yes, vote yes campaign leaflets in people's windows and so on. But where I live, there are none. And I get the impression that average working Australians don't see any purpose in this Aboriginal Voice to Parliament at all. And I think they're entirely right. I think their common sense is correct. And I think if it did pass, it would enshrine an anti-white thing in the Australian government, and would also give the Aboriginals far more power than their numbers deserve. So there you go. Paul Armstrong is asking, where is same old, which of course is Mitch. I don't know. I have no idea. I sent him an invite. I sent Ataman an invite. I actually sent out about 8 invites this evening, and everyone is apparently busy. What can you do? I think I got the time right. It is 9 o'clock, isn't it, in the UK now? As I say, the clock started changing. And I know the UK clocks change in the early hours of, like, Saturday for you dudes who are up in the Northern Hemisphere. Yes, Davey, 1602. The constitutional changes this will lead to seem to be going unrecognised. Well, not so much by the no campaign, but certainly the yes campaign are really trying to deny it. I mean, it's going to lead to reparations and all this kind of stuff. It just inevitably, if the Voice to Parliament vote passes, it is definitely going to lead to reparations and all the rest of it. Hang on, Davey, 1602. You're saying it's 1904. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so 9:15. Yeah, that's right. We always go live at 9 o'clock, but it's an hour earlier where I am in Victoria. I don't. By the way, I'm not suggesting all states put their clocks forward, but Victoria certainly put their clocks forward at 2 a.m. today, which was about 3 hours ago. Tricky Boo, the Voice is the same tribe trying their old tricks. They grabbed power in the USA using blacks like Martin Luther King and the civil rights operations. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, mate. There could definitely be some truth in that. It's being supported by all the usual suspects, you know, all the lefty students, your silly boomer of women. As I said, a lot of the black and brown immigrants into Australia, because, you know, they see nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, I'm certainly voting no myself, and everyone I know is also voting no. And I'm not just talking about the people I know politically, I'm talking about friends of mine. Although, to be fair, most of my real-life friends are former military types and are therefore... the 24-hour time is out. Yeah, fine. Sorry, mate. That's great. I'll sort that later. When the clocks change all the time, it really it buggers me up sometimes. I'll be honest with you. I wish they didn't change them all the time. I don't really see the point. I've never been a great believer in daylight saving time or whatever they want to call it. But yeah. And it will change, and the time will change again next week because, as I say, UK clocks go back an hour. I do believe in the early hours of this morning. But yeah, I'm not a big supporter of the Voice at all. I'm certainly a no supporter, and I will be a no voter. And as I said, most of my real life friends are also going to vote no, but they are former military guys, and so tend to be on the right in most regards. There were people this week. I know because Lydia Short's involved in this, and she talks about it on my Discord sometimes. There were people this week protesting outside of the Parliament, the Victorian Parliament in Melbourne, and the cops moved them along, and all they were doing was standing there with a banner which said that yes is anti-white, which it is, quite honestly. Triple Five says it's not going to win, but they'll bring in a softer question once this one fails, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Yeah, Tricky. If it does pass, it really is. It's going to be a nail in the coffin of Australia, big time. Like I was talking to people on my Discord this week. Like Australia is still advertising in the UK for certain professions and what have you, like military, police, nurses, doctors, this kind of stuff. And I don't blame Australia doing that at all. And it's far better for Australia to get people from UK and other old Commonwealth or European countries than it is for them to come from the third world. But most of them are not going to come from the UK or other white countries. They're going to come from the third world. And whilst Australia is huge, for anyone who's not in Australia, it's roughly the size of the continental United States minus Alaska. And Australia really is a huge country, although there's quite a lot of desert and semi-desert in the center of the country. But I think there's a population of about 28 million here, which is less than half of the population of the UK, which of course is vastly overcrowded. Mind you, UK is vastly overcrowded. Again, mainly because of mass third world immigration. But the smaller Australian population makes it much easier for Australians to be swamped. That Australia, actual white Australians would be swamped relatively easily, depending how wide the government opens the floodgates. And I mean, we've seen Albanese trying to do deals with India and what have you, which is inevitably going to end up being a lot more Indian migration into Australia. I mean, the last time I was driven in an Australian taxi, and I've lived in lots of places in Australia, basically all up and down the East Coast, from the Torres Strait down to Melbourne, where I am now. I've lived near Sydney. I lived around Brisbane for a while. And I have not been in a white-driven taxi in Australia for at least about 8, maybe even 9 years now. That was the last time I had a white Australian taxi driver. Triple Five saying 25 million was always 15 million when I grew up. Yeah, mate, it's very much like UK. All the time I was a child and a young man in Britain, it was 56 million-ish people. And now it's like 65. And it's all mass third-world immigration. And the same thing's true in Australia, because birth rates in Australia and the UK are not good at all. From the the white population, the birth rates are not high at all. There's no way our population would be increasing like that. So yeah, there is that. I noticed, I was watching a video yesterday that 1 million people have legally migrated into the UK over the last 2 years. 1 million. And that's a net figure. That's allowing for those that have left. Well, Davey's saying the official figures are higher than the unofficial numbers are high. I'm sure they are. I've seen people say there are somewhere between 1 and 3 million illegal immigrants in the UK, and some people claim it's higher than that. But all they go on about in the UK, and all you're allowed to talk about in the UK, is, of course, the people coming across on dinghies across the channel. And of course, that's bad, and it shouldn't happen, and all those people should be sent away and repatriated. They've gone through umpteen safe countries before they get to the Channel coast of France, including France, of course. but you're allowed to talk about that. But it's a drop in the bucket compared with the legal migration, and it's a useful distraction for people to go on about these guys coming across in dinghies, when the vast majority of people arriving in the UK who are increasingly changing the character of the nation or of the state are coming legally. You know, if you stopped the 25,000 a year or what it is illegal immigrants crossing the channel, that would be good, but it's not going to stop the swamping of the native indigenous Anglo-Celtic people of Britain by third-world immigrants. And as I say, when you're looking at Australia, because Australia's got a much smaller population, it would be far easier to swamp white Australia than it has proven so far to swamp the white British, although it's still happening. So yeah, that's absolutely a fact. So yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to stream this evening, guys. I'm not all that keen on doing solo streams unless it's on a specific subject that I'm up on. You know, if it was military history or something of that nature, then yeah, I'm happy to do a solo stream. But in terms of talking politics, I'm not so fond of my own voice that I really want to do a long solo stream on that. I am quite happy to answer questions from the chat. If you guys have got stuff you want to talk about or something you want my opinion on, I'll happily give you that for what little that's worth. Yeah, the 555, you're right. I well remember when Australia was getting boat people, and then they started sending them to islands way off in the Pacific. And personally, as I've said before, my solution to the British boat people problem would be to set up a camp on Ascension Island, which is in the middle of the Atlantic, middle of the South Atlantic. It's a military base. It's a volcanic island. There's no local population. There's no great amount of wildlife there except some seabirds around the edge. They should set up a camp on Ascension Island, and they should send all of those boat people there, and they should be kept there until they're deployed. And I would suspect that it wouldn't take more than 6 months before they would all stop coming if they knew that was what was going to happen to them, and they weren't going to get near Britain, or they'd get landed in Britain but immediately sent down to Ascension Island. And that's essentially what Australia did. And when Australia did that, Australia's boat person problem stopped very quickly. Yeah, I mean, Tricky Blue, yeah, all these governments, they're spending huge amounts of money paying hoteliers. They're using loads of former military bases in the UK, but then the UK armed forces are so small these days, we've got far more UK bases than we have troops or sailors or airmen to go in them, because the British armed forces have never been weaker. I think there's some truth to that, 555. I don't think there's any intention in the British government to stop it. I think it's a useful distraction. It stops people looking at the official legal immigration figures, which are actually, as I said earlier, the real problem. Yeah, loads of people are making money Alphabet Cat to house them and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely they are. But as I said, the real solution is you've got to send them somewhere where there are proper medical facilities and what have you, but where it's a camp and it's nowhere near Britain. So they think, we're going to leave France, go across the channel and end up on Ascension Island, which is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It's got quite a pleasant climate. Nothing wrong with that. It's in the South Atlantic. It's reasonably warm. But that's what they should be doing. And that's a British island. So Britain is still taking them. Ascension is owned by Britain. It's part of the 14 British overseas territories, which still survive today. So they're still on British land, but they're not in Britain itself. And I would say 6 months at most would be enough for that. If that happened, to stop any of these people coming, they just say that's not worth it. Why do we want to go and spend 6 months on Ascension Island in a camp? What about Braverman's statement, multiculturalism has failed? Yeah, absolutely right. but also look at how many multicultural people there are in this British government, including Braverman herself, of course, and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who's an Indian banker. And when he loses the next general election, will go off and get some international banking job. He's in no real sense British. You know, he isn't. He's not Anglo-Celtic. To be British, you've basically got to be Anglo-Celtic. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. Do I think it can be reversed? I don't know, mate. My friend Atman thinks it can be. Under certain circumstances, yes, of course it can be reversed under certain circumstances. But I think something fairly drastic is going to happen in the UK for that to happen. Because Britain, like all nations, like, you know, the Conservatives, in inverted air quotes, excuse me, the Conservatives, in inverted commas, and Labour in Britain are a uni party, just as the Republicans and the Democrats are in the USA, and the Liberals and Labour are in Australia. They're all a uni party. There's no real difference between their policies in terms of stuff like mass third-border immigration, all the utter nonsense of net zero and, you know, so-called green energy, and all the other globalist bullshit which they try and shove down our throats, which nobody wants, really. But they all have that same stuff. And what I suspect is going to happen in the next general election is that the Conservatives are going to have probably their worst election result ever. And you're just going to have a massive Labour government. And in terms of all of the important policies which are bad for the British people, including mass third-border immigration, Labour will, if anything, be worse. So what the hell is the point of voting for them? You know, I mean, I know many black pill people say, oh, you shouldn't vote at all. Well, that to me seems also pretty pointless. I mean, if you look at a country like, say, Portugal, I think Atman was telling me this, in Portugal, only about 47% of people even vote in Portuguese general elections. And the left-wing government that runs the place at the moment just happily goes along. They don't care if you don't vote. They'll just say, oh, well, the people who did vote voted for us. As I've said many, many times, the only solution for those of us on the right, certainly those of us on the DR at the next general election, is to vote for one of the smaller right-of-centre so-called populist parties, and whichever one is liable to do best in your area. I think they need to get together and form an electoral pact, and I've said this bloody scores of times now. I don't know if it'll happen. Too many big personalities and smaller brains, unfortunately. But that's the only solution for it. Certainly if you're on the DR, anyone right of centre, there's no point in voting Conservative, and there's no point in voting Labour. And the Lib Dems and the Greens are, you know, they're exactly the same too. They're all unified. You should just disregard all of those. The thing is, Alphabet Cat, the Conservatives will be killed off for a while. But what always happens, and this has gone on since World War II pretty much, is that the Conservatives will fuck up enough that eventually people will chuck them out. And then Labour will come in, and one term of Labour, or at most two, is enough to make everyone go, oh, bugger this, and they go and they'll vote Conservative again. People have got to start thinking away from that, because all you're doing is voting for a uni party. In practical terms, there's not that much difference between Labour and Conservatives. Mate, Darth Kilhoon, I will check them at the end of the stream. I will see if there's any super chats, and if there are, I will happily do my best to answer them. You can send super chats if you want to, guys. There's a pinned link at the top of the chat. You can do it via Entropy, and I will most definitely answer any that are sent to me. But I'll do it at the end of the stream, which probably won't be that long, because I don't see me going much longer than an hour or so this evening if I don't get any guests coming on from the 8 people I invited this evening. But there we go. But there's no point in voting Labour or Conservative in the UK. You've got to go for one of the smaller right of centre so-called populist parties, and I don't even think it makes that much difference which one you vote for, to be honest. All politicians are compromised, says Tricky Lou. Yeah, absolutely they are. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Davey is saying that the civil service were not purged in 2016, so they still control the country. Yeah, there's a great deal of truth in that, Davey 1602. There is. I mean, but then you've got to have a government that has the willingness to do that, to even attempt it. And I think even a government that wanted to do it wouldn't find it that easy to purge the civil service. But yeah, you're not wrong. Let someone on from chat. Depends. Does someone want to come on from chat? Triple Five is suggesting I let someone come on from chat. That depends. It has to be, first of all, somebody I trust not to Fed post and ruin my channel, because I don't want to lose this channel. I've spent a long time building it up, like years now, literally, to get us to a still quite small subscriber base, but it's bigger than quite a lot of smaller right-wing channels, shall we say. Davey 1602, don't worry about that, mate. My friend Mitch has got a Midlands accent, and I actually think it's quite a nice accent, you know. If I'm going to invite somebody on, it has to be somebody I've known in the chat for a while. I will say that. And you'd also have to be on Twitter / X for me to be able to do so. Yeah, so I mean, look, we're all facing a difficult position. Every single Anglosphere country, every single Western European country, and they're all facing the same problems, you know, deindustrialization, far, far too much third world mass immigration, all of this net zero green stuff, which is really just designed to make people a lot poorer, because, you know, you're becoming energy poorer. I mean, even in Australia, where I moved to Australia from South Africa in 2000, and Australian energy prices were quite reasonable in 2000. They sure ain't now. Gas in particular has gone through the roof in Australia, but electricity keeps going up, you know. So that's definitely true. You do, Darth Kaloon, you run your own channel, do you? What's your channel called? You can certainly plug it if you want to. If you put it in the chat, I'll mention it. I don't know it. I haven't got time to go and look at it now. And also, I know damn well if I try to, it will bugger up my stream, so I'm not going to look at it now. Davey is saying we've stopped trading stock and now we're trading migrants. Yeah, well, there's some truth in that too. But it's interesting that all of basically the white countries face the same problem, you know. Okay, mate. So Darth Kaloon is saying he's got a channel, and his channel's called Darth Kaloon. So do go and check it out, guys, after the stream, of course. But do go and check it out. I will after the stream. But yeah, it's I was having a fairly heated discussion with Adam a couple of weeks ago about Japan, and Japan is still roughly 98.5% Japanese, and the 1.5% who are not are mostly Koreans or people from Taiwan, so they're not vastly different to the Japanese, although the Koreans are not very popular in Japan by all accounts. But, you know, if Britain was in that position, or even Australia was in that position. Everyone but 1.5% of the population was from there. That wouldn't be a big deal. I think we'd be in a great position. Now, the heated argument I was having with Adam was that Adam was saying, "Oh, it could change it." And yes, it could. Of course, it could. We never know. But I have had people, particularly from the right, telling me for about the past 8 years now, "Oh yeah, Japan's going to change next year." And it probably wasn't fair of me to get heated with Alman about it because it wasn't him. But I've had people telling me that same thing for years now. And I say 8 years. I'm not talking like a couple of years. Fucking nearly a decade. People have been saying to me, "Oh yeah, Japan will change shortly too." I'm not sure they will. I haven't seen much evidence that they're going to. Could they? Absolutely, yes, they could. Sailaway is saying, "Why do you think changing your name makes a difference on this platform?" He's asking Dark Kaloon. I do think you've got to be careful what your name is on this platform, on YouTube, for sure. Yeah, I've seen that TED chat, that TED talk, Dovey 1602, and I think I saw it 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. It's quite an old one. It's been around a long time, but yeah, you're right. It's just nonsense. The thing is, multiculturalism doesn't work. To that extent, Suella Braverman was entirely correct. It doesn't work because people don't integrate. If there are large numbers of them, you can integrate a small number of people. Yeah, you can always do that. But once you're talking about tens of thousands of people, you cannot do it. Duke Valentino, their population will dramatically sink soon because their birth rates are really bad. Yeah, I know they are, mate, but so are ours. And you can turn around and say, yeah, all right, Japan's are a bit worse than, say, Britain's. But also Britain's, when you look at the birth rates in Britain, and I haven't been able to find the figures for Anglo-Celtic people in Britain, you only get like national figures. Quite a lot of the British birth rate figures that you can see on government websites, they're not British people. There's a reason the Mohammed is the most popular boy's name in quite a lot of British areas. Not many Anglo-Celtic people are going to call their son Muhammad or one of its many variations. This is the other way that they con things. There's about 3 or 4 ways to spell Muhammad. So if the government is trying to pretend to people, "Oh no, there's not that many Muslims, say, in the country," what they'll do is they'll only include one variant spelling of Muhammad, which of course makes it look like there are less. But when you include all of them, there's loads. Here's Mitch in the chat. Mitch, I did send you an invite, mate. You should join because I hate carrying a stream on my own. I don't like the sound of my own voice that much, mate. Mitch is pointing out we don't have 14-year-old versions, although apparently that's a common occurrence in Japan, which it may or may not be. I don't know, to be quite honest. Yeah, look, Mitch, I'm not arguing about that. They don't have great birth rates. Their birth rates are worse than Britain. But like I said, I tried to look this up. I spent like a couple of hours trying to look it up. And you can't get, as far as I can find, you can't get Anglo-Celtic birth rates in Britain. You can only get national birth rates in, say, England or Scotland or where have you. And of course, that includes quite a lot of immigrants, especially if you include first, second, and third generation immigrants, which to me is no different. I don't think because someone's been in Britain for 2 generations, they suddenly become Anglo-Celtic if their family's from Bangladesh. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. So, there's that. But I'm not pretending that Japan is in a great position in terms of birth rates or marriage rates or any of that stuff. Not saying they are. Mitch is saying 1 in 10 of Japanese men are virgins in their 40s. I don't know if that's true, mate. If they say it is or you say it is, fine. I'm prepared to believe it, but I don't know it. And I mean, I don't know, Mitch, I don't know how much you're involved in the manosphere of things, because like I actually originally started off mainly being a manosphere dude. All right. And there is an increasing problem in Britain and America and Australia, all Western nations. There is an increasing problem with blokes not being able to find chicks in Western nations. So it's not the same. Yeah, like I said, Mitch, I don't disbelieve you, mate. I don't. Honestly, it's not something I've looked into, and it's not what I've ever talked about. I'm roboting, am I, tricky word? Well, I'm sorry, mate, if I am. That's probably because I'm talking too much. But yeah. But yeah, Mitch, I don't deny what you said at all. It's just something I haven't looked into because it's not what I was talking about. I was talking about mass third world immigration. That is not a problem that Japan have at the moment. And the Japanese population is far higher than Britain. So yeah, all right. If their I don't think it'll hurt them if their population goes down a fair bit. To be quite honest, I don't think it will hurt them much. Again, Mitch, I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying. There you go. I'll put it up on the screen. I agree with what you're saying there. Totally, 100%. And there's also the problem of women's hypergamy. You know, women want to marry up all the time. A bloke who is a millionaire will not care if he sees some really beautiful woman. It won't matter if she's a checkout chick. If she's really beautiful, he will not care. Women don't think that way at all. Women always want to marry up. That's something they always do. It's called hypergamy, and they always want to do it. And again, totally agree with what Mitch is saying here. No argument with him at all. This is absolutely true. See if I can even get that on the screen. Perhaps it'll come on the screen in a minute. Who knows? There you go. That was the one I was trying to get to go on the screen. Good. Mitch is going to join us. I'm quite happy for Mitch to join us because, as I said, I don't like doing streams on my own unless they're about something I can, one subject. So I'm going to be doing part 2 of our military career of Wellington stream, hopefully next week. And that, if I have to, I will do on my own because, I know about that stuff. So I'm quite happy to monologue about it for 40 minutes or whatever it takes to talk about the Peninsular War, because that's what it's mainly going to be about. I didn't start early, Duke Valentino. I started at 9 o'clock UK time, but that's 5 a.m. Now. That's 5 a.m. my local time in Victoria, Australia. But I didn't start early. I started at 9, as I always do, UK time, on Saturday. That's when this stream started. It's when I keep it. And one reason I keep it at that is because it's when no one else is streaming, or at least they weren't, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago when this stream first started. Dorsastic Draco, where are you? Where in the world are you? I don't mean what town are you in. I'm not asking you to dox yourself, but what part of the world are you in? What time is it there? So it's only 7:45 there, you're trying to tell me, are you? No, that's 9:45, isn't it? No, hang on. 22 is 10. Sorry. You telling me it's... okay. I beg your pardon, gentlemen. Maybe I have buggered this up a bit. Maybe I have buggered this up a bit. I'm sorry, Dostastic Draco. I didn't realize that. Apologies. Apologies. My clocks weren't forward today, you see. Well, that's a shame. So we started early. Sorry, beg your pardon, guys. My fault. Entirely my fault. The funny thing was, though, I put the stream out with the stream times on it in Britain and Australia, and no one corrected them over about 6 hours. And usually someone, when I make a bugger up like that, and I do sometimes, because it's trying to work out time zones really pisses me off. But when I do that, normally someone will tell me, but nobody did this time. So my apologies, gents. Also explained why I got no guests. So there we go. My apologies. What a boomer moment. There you go. And I'm not even a boomer. So there you go. I'm sorry, gents. Don't worry, I'll get it right next week when the British Times changes as well. Oh, dear. Quite funny. There is a stream coming up, by the way, gents. I would give you a heads up for. Apostolic Majesty, who I'm sure most of you know, has got an excellent history channel. He's going to be hosting a debate between Academic Agent and Semiagogue in about 3 weeks' time on the legacy of the British Empire, which should be a very interesting stream. Certainly what I'm going to watch. And I did a stream that was kind of, hopefully in a positive way, answer, because I like Semiagogue, by the way. Hopefully, I did a stream with Alman a few weeks ago that was looking at the British Empire and whether it was really the start of the GAE. And Atterman and I came to the conclusion not, for the most part, surprisingly enough, given we're both Englishmen. But yeah. How you going, Mitch?
Wasn't expecting this to start at least 7 o'clock. Like, it's 5 to 8 our end.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I just totally messed up the times, and I don't know what I did. Because, like, my time changed. It went an hour forward today. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think UK time was changing until tomorrow for you guys.
I didn't know. Just the clock's changing over our end. So then again, every clock I've got changes automatically. So
yeah, well, my computer clock changes, and it's 5:53 a.m. here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I thought had happened is my clocks went forward an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as I was concerned, that meant I needed to start the stream at 5 and not 6, which is what I normally do. Because it's usually 9 hours time difference between Australia and Britain.
But what I mean, aside from whole Lawrence Fox drama with GB News and that certain bitch that I will not even name, yeah. Well, I did name him in chat, so As I say,
Yeah, no, I put it up on the screen, mate. I did. I put it up on the screen. And I noticed there was also, I think it was Binary Surfer on Twitter, X, was talking about that dude who was on Sky News in the UK.
It's Connor Tomlinson.
Yeah, he'd written a book about why blokes do stuff, like not putting suntan lotion on and silly nonsense like that, Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I think it was on about Connor Tomlinson. I don't think he wrote a book, but I don't know which guy you're on about.
Well, this was a dude in the video. This was a dude with a beard, and he was on Sky News, and they were asking him. Oh, okay. Well, this was Binary Surfer, who's in our Discord. A lot of guys know him because he goes on AA and what have you. And he was pointing out that there was this feminist woman who was slagging this bloke off because the bloke was saying, well, maybe they should form a ministry for men with the idea of reducing male suicide rates in the UK, which are at an all-time high at the moment. And of course, this woman poo-pooed it.
I think a bloke I'm thinking of now. I've got an image. I think his name is Peter Lloyd. He's a very anti-feminist bloke. Like you get. I mean, on Twitter, and I follow him. I don't know. Perhaps he's a guy you want about. Like, there's a clip where what was his name? Smurfle White or something like that. He basically said this joke about sticks and stones may break my bones, but there'll always be something to offend a feminist. Or said it on the Sky News. I miss fucking horse-faced feminist bitch just coped and seethed about it all the time on Sky News when she was on that particular segment. Can't remember her name, Kate Smurfle-White or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah, that does sound right. And as Binary Surfer was saying on Twitter, when she poo-pooed the idea of a minister for men, he said, well, just imagine if a bloke had turned around and said, well, the idea of a minister for women is absolutely fucking stupid, you'd get slaughtered.
She ridiculed the issue of male suicide rates. So she'll just take I can't remember precisely what she said, but she was pretty much saying, why was society crying about suicidal rates among men? But then she also said, a year ago on Piers Morgan's show over at Fox News or something like that, she wants there to be a culture of fear where young guys like me can't even approach a girl without suffering some sort of false rape allegation. She was openly promoting girls my age to do false rape allegations, knowing full well they're false, just to put the fear factor into men.
And you see what they've done in Scotland, Mitch. In Scotland, they want to get rid of. Well, I think they might already have done so. They want to make rape trials no jury, just a judge, because they figure that juries are. Yeah, in Scotland, and they often try stuff out in Scotland and Wales before they bring it into the whole of the UK. And what they're trying to do in Scotland, because the Scots nationalists are such lovely people. Is the nationalists in inverted commas, of course, because they're not. I mean, they're run by a Pakistani, for God's sake. But what they're trying to do is to have rape trials with just a judge, because they're claiming that juries are too reluctant to convict people.
Wow, I do wonder why.
And the whole point of British jurisprudence and the legal system is you have the right to be tried by a jury of your peers. It's that's the whole fucking point of it.
Yeah, it's what I mean. Okay, on one hand, I do wonder if you still come to bite us in terms of, let's say, creating the same problem as Japan, where you're just going to get men who just refuse to go near women, and so you just get 30-year-old and 40-year-old virgins becoming more of an occurrence in this country.
This is what I find strange, Mitch. Yeah. And I don't have an answer to this, but I do find it strange, is that feminism's not a big deal in Japan.
I don't know about that.
No, honestly, mate.
Some aspects of it of our thing, for example, they imagine if you say, let's say Japanese government, okay, why don't you just make it illegal for women to work, or why don't you just have women re-encouraged back into the home while men do all the work? And it's just like the economy is so capitalistic that I don't think they'll ever let go of women working, for example. So one aspect of feminism is
and they
already
work pretty long hours, and Japanese people, including women, actually work quite long hours, whereas British women, when they do work, don't work long hours on the whole, whereas men do. So there is that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's one aspect of feminism. Do I think that I don't really know the ins and outs? I mean, of
So I don't think that is feminism. I don't think that
wave.
really is feminism, to be honest. But I mean, you're all right. Maybe it is.
Well, it depends on the job. Well, it depends on the job. I mean, if a woman wants to work as a teacher for children or nurse, and fair enough, I won't protest against that. It's more jobs. Let's say she wants to be a policewoman, or she wants to work some sort of fucking high up corporate job.
Yeah, I agree totally, mate. You're not going to get an argument from me on that at all.
Yeah, it's like you take, for example, a woman who's, let's say, high up in a corporate hierarchy. I mean, from my personal experience, I mean, like, you know, when I was at uni and whatnot, women do not make great leaders in the same way that men do. And
they certainly don't. No, I go so far as like I wouldn't work for a woman these days. I just wouldn't. I just if a woman was in charge of something where I wanted to work, I'd just say no, I'm not doing it. Sorry. Because I've had bad experiences working for women, and to let anyone know who doesn't know, I'm 58. I'm not a little young bloke. Working for women is extremely unsatisfactory for most men. It's a bad idea because they don't think the same way we do.
Yeah, it's what I mean. I was actually looking up for some reason. I was looking up. Because for example, men. You look at the jobs that men do. It's like engineering, for example. I don't know. I've only for example, when I was doing like electrical at college one time. In terms of the engineering department, it's vastly majority men. Like, out of a class of, let's say, 30 blokes, you get like 3 women to go along with 30 blokes. So it's like one, Whereas, let's say you go into a psychology class in a university, it'd be mostly women because women just, I don't know, the more abstract jobs like psychology, women gravitate towards, whereas men will be more hands-on work like engineering, for example, or electrical or whatever. So it's like, for example,
you are right. Can I just say to people in the chat, Mitch, before I let you on, I see the conversation you're having there, and what you're saying about troons, etc. I do totally agree with, and you won't find any on this stream ever. But yeah, sorry, Mitch, go ahead.
Well, it's like I don't know, I'm going off like 555's comment. I mean, I remember back in uni, right? No girl ever wanted to live in an only female dormitory. They always wanted mixed with men. So, like, even the women at the universities, even as shitlib as egalitarian as they are, they still acknowledge realities like, oh yeah, a female-only dormitory is just one massive war zone between girls over a bloke or whatever.
Well, do you remember our young Scottish mate when he was at uni in Scotland? And he was sharing a place with 3 girls on the Discord.
What, Napoleon?
Yeah. I wasn't going to name him, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not his real name, obviously. But yeah, he was this young dude was sharing a place with 3 chicks, and of course, he got all the usual jokes that you'll get if you're a bloke and you're sharing a place with 3 chicks. But he said it was horrible because he had to constantly put up with their shitty music. And the silly films they used to watch. And of course, if a light bulb went or something like that, he was always expected to change it. So it wasn't quite so enjoyable as you might think. You know, I mean,
I never said it was enjoyable. I'm just saying, like the girls themselves, they don't like living in female-only dormitories. They always prefer to live mixed. I didn't really say much about men enjoying it. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
one of the things I have thought that is worth talking about sometimes in regard to women is like body counts. And what you have to realize as a bloke is that any halfway decent looking woman is going to get offers every week, at least. Every week. a halfway decent looking woman, and believe me, like some of the women I've seen with little kids, I just think, oh my God, how? Who? You know? And I'm an old bugger, you know, don't get me wrong. But, you know, when I was younger, I would have even more thought that. I would have thought, oh my God, why did anyone do that? You know? But a halfway decent looking woman is going to get offers every week, and probably more than one. Yeah?
Yeah, but it matters, like, well, it can matter, like, as to, like, how online the woman is. Like, for example, you know, it doesn't matter if said woman gets that offer from, like, the Indian men living in Dubai, not living in Dubai, living in Mumbai or wherever. Because a lot of it is inconsequential.
I really, what I mean, Mitch, is like in her day-to-day life, she'll get at least one offer a week if she's a reasonable looking chick, and like under, I don't know, 40, say.
Yeah, sure.
There's no doubt of it. She'll get at least one offer a week. Some of them will be direct offers. Do you want a FUCK? And others will be, would you like to go out to dinner or come out for a drink or whatever it might be? But any reasonable looking woman is going to get that happen to her at least once a week. And blokes have to realize that. They just have to realize it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't really date extroverted girls, for sake of argument. Like, I don't really date extroverted girls because extroverted girls are generally the ones who, you have the right wing meme about having high body counts and whatnot. But I'll be the extroverted girls. The introverted ones won't be as inclined. They might still, I don't know, for argument's sake, still get into the cultural and sexual pause stuff, but not as badly as extroverted girls.
No, I do agree with what you're saying there, Mitch, but I would also say good evening, Biaki in the chat. Hello, mate. I would also say, though, that even an introvert, you see, this is another thing, even an introverted girl will still get approaches.
Yeah, no, but like, I mean,
and I'm not saying she's not always going to say yeah. You know, just as if she was a religious girl, for example, she's not always going to say yeah, but she will get approached if she doesn't look like the back of a bus and she's not the size of a house. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think chat will want to hear anybody going on over the same girl week on week, like somebody love-struck teenager. But you get the point. Like, I don't know. Like,
look, mate, I wish you every luck with that girl, and I hope it works out. I really do. She looks quite nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's what I mean. I don't know. I can imagine how some guys, like, say, if I were to say, oh, you know, I can find attraction in, like, say, a tomboyish sort of girl, but it's still, I mean, to be fair, she still acts feminine. Like, she'll paint her nails, she'll have long hair,
yeah.
She's willing to wear a dress. You know, for example, I can just imagine, for argument's sake, if I were to take her to, like, I don't know, nationalist event, like, I don't know, Shieldings, I think it's called. Imagine.
Yeah.
Let's say yeah. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm not particularly one who loves wearing formal suits all the while. You know what I'm saying? But, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm a suit guy. I'm a suit guy. I have to say, I really am. I was in Melbourne once, Mitch, and they wouldn't even let me in this pub. They said I looked too corporate, and I had a chick with me. They said, "No, you look too corporate."
Usually, like, the dress for, like, young guys like me is just, like, I don't know, you get like a buttoned Hollister shirt, like perhaps like long sleeve, or perhaps you wear a polo shirt and some jeans, which I'm not a big fan of wearing jeans either because they crush my.
I know what you're saying. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. I agree.
I hate it, but there's no other choice other than say wearing shorts. But I've had, like, girls criticize me in the past because I've got really hairy legs, and apparently girls don't. I don't know why girls complain about hairy legs.
I'll tell you what I do, mate. No, most guys have hairy legs, and I've never had a woman say anything about that to me. But I've got to say, mate, one thing I found, and I got it in South Africa, and I still do it today in Australia, is I get khaki slacks. They work really well, and like you say, they're not as tight as jeans.
Yeah, it's what I mean. let's say if it were up to me, right?
And,
if I was
they look
dictator-
reasonably smart if you're doing the smart casual bit, you know?
Yeah, it's like if I was dictator of the UK for sake of argument, I'd just be of that persuasion where I just think I'll probably ban skinny jeans just because all we do is just crush your balls and not much else.
Well, I think skinny jeans look gay anyway, I've got to say. They really do, I think. They look, skinny jeans look gay, I'm sorry. I mean, I've got a pair of Levi's somewhere, but I hardly ever wear them. But they're not skinny. So, yeah, I don't know. 555 in the chat, you might know more about this than I do, Mitch. The actor chap, I'm presuming he's talking about that Fox dude and the GB News thing. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened there. I've just vaguely seen some stuff on Twitter about it. What was your opinion on it? Because he said he wouldn't have sex with somebody. I don't know who it was. Oh, hang on. Mitch has actually had to leave his keyboard for a minute. He'll be back in a bit. So I'll ask him when he comes back. So, yeah, I don't know. I only saw this. I only saw this on Twitter, so I don't know exactly what went on. But I'll ask Mitch when he comes back because he might have seen it because he's actually in the UK. Apparently, Fox was banned from GB News, which strikes me as being extremely excessive, but, you know. Okay, he's having problems with... Mitch is having problems with his internet. He's going to try and come back. I get so used to having problems with my internet, I just don't take much notice anymore. What's Liam Gray saying in the chat here? Worked in a hostel on this guy. Yeah. I'm not surprised. I think you're exactly right here, Liam Gray. But I don't know. Like, would you let your girlfriend go on holiday without you? I mean, let alone your girlfriend or your wife. I mean, I wouldn't, but I mean, I guess if you do, you can expect that sort of thing to happen. To be honest, I'm not the most because I am 58. I'm not the most trusting bloke in the world. Got to say, I'm not. I'm by no means the most trusting bloke in the world because I've known quite a lot of women in my life. You know, if you're going to talk about body counts, I got a pretty high body count, but I'm a bloke and I don't think it's the same. And I am, by the way, a serial monogamist. You know, if I'm like with a woman, I'm with that woman. I don't fuck around on her at all. Never have. It's not my deal. Well, I say never have, almost never have. If she's being serious, though. But yeah, you know, if you let your girlfriend or your wife go on holiday on her own, I think you're an idiot, frankly. But you know, it's up to you. No doubt feminists wouldn't agree with that, but I'm sorry, that's the truth. If you do, you're an idiot. Duke Valentino, you keep going on about this in the chat, and it's been explained to you. So I don't know why you're worried. Liam Gray is also saying that he's sure there are good women out there. I'm sure there are good women out there. They're not that easy to find, but yes, there are. But they're not that easy to find, guys, I've got to tell you. Haven't known that many myself, but I have known some. Biaki in the chat is saying women cannot go on vacation alone because there are no safe vacation locations. Well, there are some, but I don't know. I mean, if the woman is your serious girlfriend or wife, why would she want to go on holiday on her own? I'd be somewhat concerned about that myself, not being of a cucky nature, you know. Really, I think a bloke who's a cuck is like the lowest form of life. He's even worse than someone who's a Jew in many respects. Thank you, Dostoevsky. Draco. That seems to be what was going on there. That's fine. Yeah, that makes sense. Bianchi is saying wives go on holiday together, like 3 of them whose husbands also know each other, etc. Do they, Bianchi? I don't know. It's not something I would encourage, I've got to say. One of the things that you will very often find, if you have a woman, whether she be your serious long-term girlfriend or your wife, is the bad influences on her are almost always going to be other women. Almost always. And that is 58 years of experience speaking there, mate. Could I be wrong? Sure. Am I wrong about a few women? Yeah, I'm sure I am. But most of them, not so much, mate. Not so much. I actually think that feminism is one of the root causes of all that is bad in Western civilization. I think it's one of the root causes of it. Oh, Bianchi is saying, yeah, that's how boomers behave. Well, maybe some boomers, but, I'd be interested to know how faithful. Not. Oh, God's sake. Yeah, okay, it seems to be. Is my microphone working, chat? If it is, please let me know. I like this from Davey. I think this is very true. Yes, I think there's much truth in that, Davey 1602. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Listen, I don't know. I've got a quite reasonable microphone, but if I even touch the cable slightly, it cuts out. And I'm not the only person this happens to. I've watched other streamers, who touch their cable and their microphone cuts out, which is, I've never worked out why that happens, but there we go. And I've also seen quite a few people recently saying that StreamYards has been acting up a bit. And this is being broadcast from StreamYard, so, Duke Valentino, of course, feminism is the root of all Western man's misery. Women have the minds of children, and yet they have all the power. It's a joke. I think there's a great deal of truth in that, mate. Don't get me wrong. There are good and intelligent women. Lady Charlotte is a good wife and mother. I would put up immediately as an example. And I have known several quite intelligent women, but women's intelligence is of a different type to men's. It is. It's of a very different type to men's. Darth Kilhoun is suggesting that there's a certain tribe that had a lot to do with feminism. I don't doubt that, mate. I'm sure that's probably correct. I don't think it was just them, but yeah, fair enough. Liam Gray is making a really important point here, which I really think most blokes need to really be aware of. and don't do it. Never do it. It is always a mistake. If I can get it ever to come on screen. There you go. What Liam Gray is saying there, look, I think he's going a bit too far by saying Christ, but don't make a woman the center of your life, boys. It's really, really bad mistake. Your best thing to do as a man is make yourself a good life, have as many real life friends as you can and all this kind of stuff, and allow a woman into it. That is much better. That if you base yourself around a woman, sooner or later she's going to let you down. 9 out of 10 of them are going to let you down, sooner or later, if that's what you do. Because you will, you only have to fall a little bit below par for a woman, and she'll go elsewhere, and it's easy for them to do so because, as I was saying earlier, any halfway decent looking woman who doesn't look like the back of a bus and who is not the size of a house is going to get offers every single week. And that makes it really doesn't make that much difference if they're single or married even. Decent looking married women are still going to get offers every week. That's just the way the world is, man. Liam Gray is saying you can support traditional non-feminist values and utterly disavow misogyny at the same time. No, Liam, you can't. I'm sorry, not in my opinion. In my humble opinion, if you're not a little bit misogynistic as a bloke, then you're unrealistic. You have to be a little bit misogynistic. I'm not saying, I know I like women. Don't get me wrong. I love women. I think they're decorative, they're fun, they're cute, all that stuff. But no, you have to be a little bit misogynistic as a bloke, mate, or otherwise you've got an unrealistic view of the world. What is going on here? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys, I'm looking at something on my Discord. Talk amongst yourselves. I knew what the hell I was. No idea what's going on there. Oh, whatever. Do. Oh, okay. I don't really need to see that. I can't, because if I watch that, it will fuck up my stream. Right, there we go. That's sorted, I think. What are we looking at here? Don't know what's happened to Mitch. Hopefully he'll come back. He said he was having internet problems, so we'll see. If you look at the Venus of Willendorf, I know that. Men worship women and treat each other like that. Please don't they realize that was stupid. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. Liam, I think it's very, very true. And I even know what the Venus of Willendorf is. I've seen it. It's that really globular little Stone Age statue thing. Yeah. What else have we got going on here? Well, you're saying they worship male deities. I mean, like the Greeks, the ancient Greeks and Romans did also worship female deities as well, you know, like Athena and Diana and what have you. So they did worship both, although the top god was Zeus, or Jupiter as the Romans called him, and much the same in Northern Europe at that time when it was pagan. So yeah. Liam Gray would describe misogyny as called pain, suffering, or humiliation to a woman or a person just because they're wrong. Liam, I'm sorry, mate, but you're obviously much younger than me. But no, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with what you're saying there. But you're perfectly welcome to your opinion. Okay. There you go. Darth Kaloon, good point. Yeah, Patriotic Archive. I'm sorry, I'm very early. I made some sort of FUCK up with the times because the time zone changed in Australia today, and I think I must have got wrong what was happening in UK at the same time. But there we go. Forgive me, I am sorry. Do I have a female artist, architect, writer, historian who you think is competent? Not entirely, no. Not entirely. I mean, you got, what's her name, Barbara Tushman, who wrote The Guns of August, speaking about writers, historians, but she's definitely got a very particular view, and it ain't pro-German. And yes, she does come from that particular tribe. So, yeah. I don't like Mary Beard at all, Liam Gray. I think Mary Beard is not a good Roman historian at all. Oh, Lady Butler was a good artist. Yes, Patriotic Archive. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Lady Butler was a good artist. But she also had the huge advantage that because her husband was an Irish general in the British Army, she could get, like when she did a famous painting of the Scots Greys charging at Waterloo, she was able to get a real squadron of the Scots Greys to charge towards her at her easel so she could see what it looked like. And that's always a huge advantage for an artist. But yeah, no, absolutely, Lady Butler was an excellent artist. I'll give you that. A good point, Patriotic Archive. But no, I'm not fond of many female authors at all, to be honest. Architecture, I don't know that much about, but I don't know of many famous female architects. But yeah, historians, definitely not. Definitely not. And Mary Beard, I'm no fan of Mary Beard. Mary Beard's a big-time lefty. Big-time lefty. Someone wanted me to say what my thing of misogyny is. I think men are naturally a little bit misogynistic, and I think it's a good defense mechanism against women who men are also wired to constantly protect. Leni Riefenstahl, she was a filmmaker, wasn't she, Liam Gray, I believe? Didn't she make Triumph for the Will? I think that was her famous movie, or documentary, I should say. I'm not a big fan of the mid-20th century Germans, guys. I mean, if you're after that, you're in the wrong shop, because I'm not a big fan. Honestly, I'm not. Should Britain have gone to war over Poland? No. I don't think Britain should have gone to war over Poland at all, particularly as it was pointless in the end anyway. But I'm not a big Adolf Babes fan at all. I don't think he was a good bloke. Liam Gray has still asked me about misogyny. I don't think it's contempt. I do think it's a bit of mistrust. And I think it's well-placed mistrust. Because women will generally go along with the majority. You know, most women will always go along with the majority. That's just what they do. Mitch, you're back.
My internet working all right now.
Yeah, it's fine, man. There was nothing wrong with it before that I knew.
No, it was like, buddy. I know. I was noticing all of a sudden, like it was just like I was trying to load up something, like an article, or I can't remember now.
Oh, right.
And it just kept buffering, lagging, and then I just thought, screw this. I'm going to have to leave and come back.
Yeah. We're talking about misogyny in the chat, Mitch. I think a little misogyny is quite healthy for men.
What can't we talking? Because I'll share memes where I take a piss at women for not being funny.
Well, don't share your memes because it will probably bugger up your internet again. But you can talk about it.
No, it's just basically memes like I don't know, mocking women for it. Because I mean, you know, it's like Christopher Hitchens. Like I can't remember what interview it was, but it's basically said women are not funny, and they're not. No, they're not. No, it's like that by Kate.
Some of them have a sense of humour, but they're not funny themselves. No.
Well, I mean, it's what I mean. I've been on dates where girls like it when you do impressions. Like, for example, they asked me to do an impression of Father Ted, for argument's sake, you know. And, you know, me being the edgelord I am, I will do that. Are you a racist now, Father? Part. So,
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in the middle of spoons while doing it, which I'm thinking, well, I mean, I remember Tola once telling me the best place to go on a date with a girl is spoons because, you can actually engage in some racism there and not get bollocks for it because it's like an ethno pub.
Yeah, that may be true. I don't know. I've never had that problem, to be honest, mate. But people are like talking about good women in the chat, and people have said Boudica. All right, Boudica was a figurehead. All right, she was just a figurehead. She didn't do anything. She wasn't a general. She was just a figurehead. Someone also said Maggie Thatcher. Now, Maggie Thatcher had the balls to fight the Falklands War, and for that, I do admire her. And I also admire her for the fact that far too late she worked out what the EU was about and then got stabbed in the back by John Major. But also she destroyed British industry at the same time, and I don't forgive her for that one. So, you know, Thatcher's not entirely true. Boudica's not really entirely true. Patriotic Archive, Mitch, said that Lady Butler is an example of a good British artist. Yeah, a good female artist. And I totally agree with that. I see we've got Clossington in the chat. Mary Beard is awful. Yes, I totally agree with that one, Clossington. Clossington's a good guy, by the way.
I don't know if I'm the only one who's never really listened to anything she's put out.
I've watched quite a lot of her stuff, and I just don't like it. She's a lefty. She really is a lefty. And if you watch her stuff, you can see she's a lefty.
Well, I don't like. I mean, I see like when I studied the history in the past, like I've noticed 9 times out of 10 the women are just literally just there either to reinterpret things because I think they don't have the same thought process as men on issues like the Roman Empire, for example. They'll just focus on they'll focus on like stuff like sanitation and just go, oh, it was all terrible. Look at how great we live in the modern era today, where we're all really miserable. So
when Roman sanitation was actually pretty good, to be honest, but you know.
Yeah, but still, they'll say, "Oh, well, they didn't have the same level as us. Therefore, Roman Empire was completely crap." And that's why I don't really listen to female historians talk about history because it's just I mean, it's like, they're not exactly going to read up on Thomas Carlyle's great man theory. They're just going to bollock you all the time about how men oppressed women, allegedly, as well as how terrible sanitation was back in the Tudor era, or they'll talk about how children used to have to drink beer or whatever at one point.
But it was small. It was small beer. They'll never mention the fact it was small beer. It was barely alcoholic anyway. And it was better than some of the local water supplies in medieval era.
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, it's what I mean. I remember one time I went to Germany back in 2016, and I was only 14, 15 at the time. We were all told explicitly, don't go into the Mackies because they serve beer there. Because I think the teachers didn't really trust us not to go for it. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure the age for drinking beer in Germany is like slightly lower than ours. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but as I said, they serve it in Mackies the most in Germany.
I don't know about you, Mitch, but like my old man used to buy me a light ale occasionally when I was 14. He'd take me to his local and he'd very occasionally buy me a light ale when I was 14, 15.
Yeah, my old man used to do that with me, but like the thing was, I've always said, I've said in the past, he's an alcoholic. So, for example, he'd go into pubs. The thing is, because everyone knew I was his son, is a situation where I can go to a local and not have to bother displaying like ID.
Exactly the same. Yeah, and also like when my dad was doing that with me, you're talking about the late 1970s, very early 1980s, and you didn't have to display ID anyway. I mean, there was a pub in the Old Kent Road that I went to when I was a bit older, when I was like 18. And everyone used to turn around and said, if you can find a girl older than 16 in this pub, you're very lucky, It's like,
Yeah, so before COVID, I could walk into a local and not have to show ID for argument's sake. After COVID, the pub owners change. Not to mention cinemas now are increasingly a lot more stringent. So you have to do everything online. But even men, it's a whole rigmarole in and of itself. Whereas before COVID, I could literally just walk into a cinema and get a decent seat, let's say a quarter of an hour before the film started.
Yeah, same.
After COVID, it's just everything's been upended. So if I were to go to the local...
After the pandemic, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So
can I just say to Sail Away in the chat, because I've got his thing up on the screen, Britain shouldn't have gone to war over the murder of a Serbian aristocrat in World War One, but we did. Totally agree, mate. I've argued a long time that the original sin of Britain and the British Empire was going to war in 1914, followed by raising a mass army against all British military traditions. So I don't disagree with you there at all, Sail Away. You're totally correct, I think. I also wanted to bring up this one, which was a quote from Queen Victoria. We women are not made for governing, and if we are good women, we must dislike these masculine occupations. Queen Victoria. Yeah, and she was correct too. Sorry, Mitch, carry on, mate.
I can't really disagree with Queen Victoria there. So
no, I think she was 100% right. Queen Victoria was a much more sensible woman than she's often portrayed.
I mean, it's they tried to say that. 1880 or something like that. Republicanism was on the rise because she was a lot more withdrawn after, Prince Albert's death. Other than that, you can't really see her as a bad queen, to be honest. But then again, there was a Twitter spat a week ago or something about the monarchy where the Tory boys and their ilk basically bollocked us because. Johnny Alpes, because you get guys our end who go, well, what's the point of a monarchy if it's not allowed to exercise power, if it's not allowed to exercise any influence on politics as a whole? Because imagine during the whole Brexit farrago, we just had the Queen just wipe out Parliament, she just dismissed them all and brought in someone like Farage to be Prime Minister in context of Brexit, as opposed to what the Queen did, which was just let the chaos just unfold and just let it happen.
Yeah, Duke Valentino is saying Queen Victoria, the famine queen. I'm sorry, mate, you're not right about that, mate. But there we go.
I mean, it's like
the only people who accuse Queen Victoria of that are either Irish or Indian. But carry on. Sure, we'll see which end of that you come from. But go for it. But yeah, I think Queen Victoria was a pretty good queen. You're right, Mitch, that she did have a period when she became unpopular after her beloved Prince Albert died. She didn't appear much in public for like almost 20 years. And it was only towards the end of her reign that she came out in public much more and became hugely popular once she did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I can't remember the precise details. I'm pretty sure Queen Victoria, for example, she tried to do a lot more for the Irish.
Yes, she did. I mean, Davey in the chat is pointing out that she actually started a charity for them during the Irish famine. And
it wasn't like there's a myth that goes around. She only gave like 25 quid or something like that to the Irish when actually it was a lot more than that. Like she tried to. I mean, but then you get the Ottoman Sultan, which Irish will big up as like a helper because he gave some food or whatever. But they don't say anything about Queen Victoria doing charitable activities for the Irish.
She gave a lot more money than 25 quid, and also the fact that she started it meant that there were loads more people who contributed to it.
Yeah,
so it made a lot more money, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I can understand. Like the Corn Laws, I can understand why we had them in hindsight because to protect our own agricultural sector. But then it's a situation where, I mean, it's like I don't know if you want to talk about while we're on the topic of Ireland. I don't know if you heard about the new National Party split that's going on in Ireland.
Listen, mate, the main thing I've noticed about Ireland is that Sinn Féin, who are the political wing of the Provisional IRA, and the leadership of the Provisional IRA were always Marxists. You know, Jerry Adams and these types. But Sinn Féin, which is absolutely Brits out, Somalians in, and wants basically real Irishmen replaced by anyone from the third world who wants to go there. That's the main thing I notice about Ireland.
Well, I've noticed like the National Party, like the nationalistic party they've just ousted Justin Barrett because apparently, I can't remember like something about him being drunk or whatever. And he's like, now he's just like, the party's like split down the middle over it. And I don't know if Duke Valentino or someone or the Irish blog in chat knows much about it, but I don't know. I hope, you know, it's like that's the only other thing I've noticed this week, other than the Lawrence Fox stuff, is just the National Party man having a split down the middle between Justin Barrett, who apparently the main crux of the issue was he quoted the Austrian painter in one of his speeches, and the more moderate wing of the party under James Reynolds ousted him. There were also some issues apparently with him abusing alcohol or something because he went through like a messy divorce or something. Other than that, I can't.
Well, none of us have ever abused alcohol because, like, some women fucked us up. But yeah, that happens.
I mean, the Irish. I mean, it's like I can't remember who it was who said alcohol is God's apology for making us self-aware. I reckon, I think it's just the Irish have a special relationship with alcohol that I know perhaps the Russians can equal them on. But
yeah, I mean, look, all of us can. I drink a fair bit sometimes. And I used to drink more when I was younger. But yeah, a 555 in the chat is talking about Queen Victoria. I tell you what Queen Victoria did do was during the Anglo-Boer War, 1899 to 1902, it was Queen Victoria who created the Irish Guards. And she did so because of the gallantry of all the Irish regiments of the British Army in South Africa. So, you know, she wasn't anti-Irish at all. It was Queen Victoria who created the Irish Guards.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's me spent in terms of topic because I can't think of much else.
Liam Gray is asking why there's no Welsh flag in the Union Jack. That's because Wales is a principality.
Well, I mean, it's been that way since the Tudors. Like the Tudors formerly annexed
and the
Wales
Tudors,
into
by
England.
the way, and the Tudors were Welsh, by the way.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah,
actually, because the thing was, like the Welsh, like the Tudor dynasty, because the Welsh mythology, there's this prophecy that goes that the Welsh will retake the Lothian, like the lost land, that's what they call England, away from the Anglo-Saxons and reinstall like Brythonic domination once more. The Tudor dynasty exploited that mythology to get the Welsh to support being absorbed into England.
Because the Tudors, Henry VIII and all those people, they were originally Welsh. That is a fact. It's not me like being an Englishman. And like, by the way, my mum was she was born in the Republic of Ireland, in Tipperary of all places. But her dad was a Welsh dude. He was in the RAF in World War II. Right? So I'm not anti-Welsh, I'm not anti-Irish. But it's a fact. The Tudors were a Welsh dynasty.
Well, what I find funny is you get Welsh nationalists on Twitter who will say that 1,500 years on, with English, since English invaded Britain, they still, like some of these Welsh nationalists, like the Plaid Cymru types, they still regard us Anglos as being like German invaders. Like, I find that funny.
Yeah, some of them. I don't know. It's like the Scot Nats. I mean, it's a bit like the original IRA were a little bit fashy. Yeah, in fact, more than a little bit fashy. And the original Scot Nats were a little bit fashy.
I mean, wasn't there that one Scottish nationalist who tried to collaborate with the Germans in the Second World War?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yes, they were. Yeah, and there were quite a lot of Irish dudes who did. But so yeah, this is actually a fact. But you look at the modern national in inverted commas parties of Scotland and Wales and Ireland, and they're all Marxists, pretty much.
Yeah, it's what. I'm trying to think now what topics that have come up this week, but aside from like the National Party,
there was one while you were away, Mitch, that people were asking me about, and I know nothing about it because I only saw a little bit of stuff on Twitter. This Lawrence Fox dude got suspended from GB News. Yeah, do you know the background to that? Because I only saw a little bit of it on Twitter.
Well, the Ava Centina woman, she was mocking a lot of she was mocking GB News or something like that because they were talking male suicide rates. So then Lawrence Fox, being the eternal Lawrence Fox, being the way he is, he just went on air and went, no one would even shag this woman. Like, he just went for 2 minutes talking about it in front of a David Wootton fella.
So he did a saga on her, did he?
Yeah, he basically said, "Oh, no one would even shag Ava." Yep. He then gets suspended. That Wootton fella, he then does this online sort of rebuttal saying, "Oh well, I did not endorse this. I look back in hindsight and I wish I'd cancelled it." So then Lawrence Fox pretty much posted up photos of the DMs from Wootton where they're both laughing about it. So
right. But he still got cancelled.
I mean, not going to lie, but I prefer if Lawrence Fox was phased it anyway. He's just an embarrassment. £5 million from Tory donors. And what's it got to show for it just being Billy Big Bollocks talking about not shagging this bitch is about, believe it, understatement for this particular woman.
Look, don't get me wrong. I thought it was cringe when Sargon did the same thing when he said, I wouldn't even rape you. I think that's what he said, wasn't it? I thought that was an idiot thing to say.
Yeah. Then Calvin Robinson, the mixed race Bible basher, he gets thrown off. I don't even get why. He didn't say anything from what I remember that was any way controversial. I don't like him either because he's trying to introduce this American Bible bashing stuff, which isn't really a Britain thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
And then you've got who's the other guy? I think that's it. Dave Wootton. I mean, not Dave Wootton. Dan Wootton got suspended as well, but that's because he was lying over his bare teeth about not liking Lawrence Fox gobbing off when actually DMs leaked out by Lawrence Fox himself proved that, So
as usual, the right is punching each other, and the left are just laughing. But yeah, fair enough.
Pretty much. I mean, it's what? I mean, you got Wootton, who's a homosexual, and that's suspicious by itself. You've got Lawrence Fox as a failed actor. I mean, he's literally only into this political angle now because he's got nothing outside of his acting career is gone ever since that Question Time appearance.
Yeah.
And then you've got Calvin Robinson, who he's a bit of he's not a bad guy at heart, but he's just cringe to listen to. GB News, I mean, I feel like it's just I feel like it's just imploding in on itself. Yeah.
I do like Neil Oliver. Patriarch Archive is talking about the Scots guy, Neil Oliver. I do like him. I think he's pretty good. Yeah. I don't know what you think about Neil Oliver, Mitch.
Well, I quite like him, but I mean, they got rid of Mark Stein, didn't they? So,
Yeah, but why would you get rid of Mike Stein? Mike Stein was excellent. I don't get that.
Yeah, because Ofcom were causing a bloody fuss about him. And GB News, rather than stick by him, they just cooked. Ofcom was getting down on their heels about it. And they just
and of course, we all know that Ofcom are going to be running this online harms bill. So you can see how this is going to go. You can just see how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's what? I think it was Morgoth who said about how Ofcom is literally just a tool of the state at this point in reference of TV and news and whatnot. I mean, you've got Andrew Bolton.
Lefty civil servants, basically.
You've got Andrew Bolton, who works for Sky News. He was literally advocating for GB News to be taken off her. Like, he was literally advocating for them to be censored out the picture altogether because they, quote unquote, threaten with broadcast ecology. In other words, they provide just milquetoast opposition, which he can't cope with. So we have to get rid of it.
They don't even want milquetoast opposition. That's the truth of it. Yeah, absolutely right. Totally agree with that, bitch.
Lawrence Fox was about bloody reform. So I assume that reclaimed reform electoral alliance is dead now. So
yeah, I mean, look, Liam Gray is correct that this online harms bill, it'll get all of us in the end. It will get us, it'll get me and you, Mitch. It really will. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't. Like, we're already on Odyssey. I'm absolutely going to put us on another channel shortly because we are going to get banned sooner or later. It's just...
I mean, it's like in the case of, I don't know, GB News, I mean, let's face it, like, if you were to get phased in, man, it's literally that, what is it? It was either create that meme about, just create your own TV channel, bro, or just create your own space, bro, and all like that meme. And it's literally just, okay, I mean, a few years down the line, we get our own space, but then we have to have it closed down because Ofcom have come sniffing about, and they just don't like us because why don't they? I mean, Ofcom
that is the whole point of it. I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks ago about this stuff with what's his name, Russell Brand, yeah. And I don't like Russell Brand, but I don't think he ought to be cancelled because of unsubstantiated allegations that have not led to any charges. Yeah. And like I said, I don't like him, but if you've not even been charged with anything, there's just a couple of women said, well, 10 or 12 years ago, X supposedly happened. And also there's loads of evidence that, like, a lot of the stuff that the TV companies put out was doctored and fake. But in any case, leave all that stuff alone. You've got MPs and leaders of parliamentary committees writing to companies like Rumble and saying, oh, no, you got to ban this dude. And Rumble told that bitch to fuck off, and quite rightly, because she should resign. She did something illegal under British law.
And the problem is, like, Rumble's going to have to... You're going to have to use it. I think before long, you're going to have to use a VPN to use Rumble.
Oh yeah,
in the UK because they're probably going to ban Rumble because they stuck their head above the parapet in reference. I mean, it's fucking Russell Brand of all people. Like, if it was Morgoth doing streams on there, no one would care outside of our circles. But they're doing it to Russell Brand, and it's like what? Like I know people around where I live who are watching Russell Brand on TikTok So it's not like they're targeting someone's a small fish in a pond. They're targeting the biggest fish in the like sort of dissident pond, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And what?
Yeah, you and I do not exist compared to someone like Russell Brand, who's got, I don't know, million subscribers or whatever it might be, you know?
Well, it's not just that. I mean, what? He's been a celebrity for the past like nearly 20 years at this point. I mean, you can find documentaries where he's interviewing Mark Collett back in the days of the BNP.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
good to see Richard Ford in the chat, by the way. I'm still Richard Ford's mate, even though he might not think I am. But yeah, I like Richard Ford. He's still a good guy. I just sometimes think he sometimes loses sight of what we're trying to do. But yeah, I like Richard. He's a good guy. Good to see you in the chat, mate.
Can't think of much to say. Like,
but yeah, I don't know. Look, you're right. What you're talking about, like GB News is controlled opposition, largely is gatekeepers. They are. We can see that. But you know, when they get rid of people like Stein, who was quite good, and now they're getting rid of people like Lawrence Fox, for fuck's sake. And Lawrence Fox, as you were saying, Mitch, he's milquetoast. He's totally milquetoast. But they even get rid of him.
Guess what? I mean, he did make a bit of a pressing point when he went, "Oh, why is it that, you know, if you say you won't even shag this left-wing bitch, you get cancelled, but you can get people on mainstream media who can call for the death of white people and not get even a slap on the wrist, let alone proper punishment." So it's, I mean, as Harvey Robinson over at Lotuses will say, the game is pretty rigged, big time.
Yeah. I mean, look, the only group you can call for the death of is white people. You call for the death of any other group, including white women, by the way, you're going to get real trouble. But if you are a black or brown person or an LGBTQ person, and you call for the death of white people generally, or in particular straight white men, that's entirely acceptable, and no one will say a word. No one will say a word. And anyone who can't see that in 2023, to me, is blind, deaf, and dumb.
Yeah, Lawrence Fox, as we said, I do find it a bit of a black pill, though, how someone like Lawrence Fox, he gets paid like 5 million quid by a Tory donor. Meanwhile, imagine, let's say, the likes of us with 5 million quid from a donor. Just imagine what we, in our circles, could do with 5 million quid, funding in the right direction.
Yeah.
Just that's a bit of a black pill. Like, someone just, first of all, it kind of shows that, I don't know, perhaps the Tory or former Tory donors are just completely gullible, but as soon as you say the right stuff in front of them, they'll just give you like 5 million quid straight up fun. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I don't know, Mitch. I think it is partly to fund controlled opposition. I do think that there is that in it for sure. But I also think some of these people are stupid enough to think, oh, this dude was an actor. You know, I mean, you know, what he was playing the dude from what was it called? I still like the show. When he well, not Lewis, it was actually the other one, wasn't it? Oh yeah, that's right, it was Lewis, beg your pardon. He was Lewis's sidekick, and that was a pretty good TV show, don't get me wrong. I didn't like the one after it at all, but that one was all right. And the original books that was based on with John Ford were actually quite good, and that series was excellent, I thought, you know, because that was just before political correctness and feminism took over everything. So, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I suppose you've got some of these people think, oh, this dude's an actor, so, you know, he can speak to people and all the rest of it. But, you know, as people often say, actors are basically adult pretenders. So, you know, I don't know.
Well, it's like, I mean, what? He made a question time appearance where he just talked about, he didn't want pronouns shoved down his face, and I go, okay, that gets you applause for about 5 minutes, but in the grand scheme of things, no one's going to vote for you just because you promised free speech. Like, outside of like,
and you can't promise free,
give.
and you can't promise free speech in Britain anymore because there are so many laws against it.
Well, it's not that. I mean, let's face it, free speech should only apply towards our side. Where I wouldn't want free speech all around. Like, I wouldn't give it to the left. So I don't even believe in the free speech absolutism that Lawrence Fox even shills for, to be honest. Even man.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with that. I don't think hate speech should be a thing. That's bullshit.
Depends if it's against. If you're spending your time subverting, like, you're trying to build horrible histories and subvert the historical record of the British people, then yeah, you should be punished. I would argue that's sort of quote-unquote hate speech. I'd prosecute. Outside of that, no, I wouldn't prosecute it. Like, if you
I see what you're saying, Mitch. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, mate. That seems perfectly reasonable. People in the chat are talking about your head and Richard's head. Guys, look, I got to tell you, mate, I started losing my hair in my mid-20s, and I just shaved it off, all right? And I've got to tell you, gents, if you're younger than me, and the vast majority of you will be, women don't care if you shave your head. They really don't give a shit, mate. If you think women care, if you're like, I don't know, 26, 27, and you shave your head, you are making a huge mistake. Women don't care, and many of them will even like the fact you shave your head. Don't worry about it. If you're starting to lose your hair as a young man, or relatively young man, in your mid-late 20s, just do it. 555, yes, I know. I got my times mixed up. I'm sorry. I made a boomer mistake. Forgive me. Please. And by the way, I got a message from Adam, and Adam couldn't come on because he's got a head cold. So there you go. And he would have sounded really bad. So, but yeah, I don't know, guys. I think men worry about the wrong things sometimes. Like, women don't care if you've got long, lovely locks or not. So long as you're like reason, what they care about is you've got to be in a good physical condition. The taller you are, the better you are. But on the other hand, like, if you're 5'9", there's plenty of chicks who are like 5 foot nothing. So don't worry about that. But they honestly will not give a shit if you shave your head. They won't care. In fact, some of them will like it. So, don't get hung up on such silly nonsense. You're not a girl, you're a bloke. We as blokes, or me as a bloke, I like women with long hair. Don't like women with short hair. I like women with long hair. It's feminine. But they don't care about blokes' hair much, really, so long as it's clean and reasonably smart looking.
Well, it's like what? In terms of like being short, what? It's a matter of if you just like bulk up, have a good posture, and dress well. That just pretty much mitigates it so much. You might as well be a non-factor. Like, I've got an uncle.
Mitch, my old man was 5'9.5", but he stood up straight, and I never thought he was a short dude, and I'm 6'2".
Well, it's what? What? He's only 5'7", but because you'd think he was 6'7", given he's like very, very, very well built bloke. He's got a very good he's like a stocky fella.
Yeah.
In terms of you can imagine this guy, for example, working down a coal mine 100 years ago.
Yeah, and a good posture, stands up straight, holds his shoulders back, all that shit. Yeah, absolutely, Mitch. I totally get what you're saying, man. Like I said, my dad was 5'9.5", but no one ever thought he was short. And there are millions of women who are shorter than 5'9.5". Millions.
Most girls are like what? I'd say most girls are either my height or shorter. It's only a minority of women who are taller than me, to be fair.
Most women are like 5'6", 5'7", maybe, even today. And there are loads of women who are actually 5'1" and 5'3" and what have you. Loads of them. Not that uncommon.
Yeah.
So I just think blokes worry about this shit too much. And also, as other people have said in the chat, yeah, absolutely. Like, make sure you're in a reasonably good physical condition. Stand up straight, hold your shoulders back, don't slump. And also, if you're reasonably successful, if you've got a bit of cash available, all of that stuff mitigates anything to do with height. As far as women are concerned, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Apparently, you made an off-the-cuff remark earlier this week that Richard Ford was asking about. I don't know what he's talking about, Mitch. I don't know if you do.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make an off-the-cuff remark earlier this week? I don't know.
Oh, he's saying like, because of that tweet that message you got up now, because it's like a reference to a tweet I did like earlier on my Twitter account about, because there was about this troon who was going bald, like this female
yeah,
to
that
male.
one. Yeah, I saw that.
Like, I mean, I don't know whether I should feel bad because I'm laughing or laugh just because this is just like what they get. Because I think, okay, they put loads of testosterone into their system, and then I wonder why they're going bald. And I go, yeah, great job. You really entered the jackpot of like masculinity here. Like, why
Yeah.
do you like? Why are women like tuning into men? So all of a sudden, surprised that they go bald. Like,
But I mean, Mitch, I'm sure you know, as I certainly do, and I've even pointed out to women frequently, actually, in the past. The reason men go bald is too much testosterone. So you know, it's that's if you're going to try and become a man as a woman, be a troon. Well, yeah, you might get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, can you just imagine like somebody, let's say some woman who tries to turn into a man, then tries to detransition, but they're just bald forever. So it's just like, so it doesn't matter like if they try to detransition back into womanhood. It just always look like they just look like some fucking Stasi appointee with like the stupid hairline they've got.
Well, I guess they would do the womanly thing and like wear a wig. So I don't know. It's like I don't know. Like as far as I'm concerned, like if you have anything to do with a troon, you're gay. Basically, the only people who have anything to do with troons are gay.
It's like what I can remember.
If a woman like transitioned to try and pretend to be a man, and then transitioned back to trying to be a woman again, I don't think I'd even be dealing with that personally. Sorry.
Well, it's like you get those single mothers who've got half black children. It's like just poor judgment. Why would you trust a woman with poor judgment?
I wouldn't at all. I've got to say, no, not at all.
Well, I mean, really, I had a train of thought, man.
Sorry, mate. So a bit, yeah. No, I agree totally. I wouldn't trust a woman with mixed race children if they were black or Indian or something. No, not at all.
Yeah, it's what I mean. I remember that Tommy Robinson, right? He had some like bloody Polish troon, like this bloke who turned into a woman allegedly. Now, I will admit, like that particular troon was convincing. Like I thought it was a real woman. Like I don't know. Like I will be honest, I thought it was a real woman at first. I mean, it turns out it was a fucking troon, and I just felt dirty afterwards.
Mate, honestly, it would make me sick. It would make me sick. I'm sorry, I just would.
So I mean, just like you saw some Tommy supporters like saying, "Oh yeah, they would shag that," and I go, "Great."
Yeah, but there are blokes who will shag 2-ton tessies who are lamb whales. Like I was saying earlier, Mitch, I sometimes see enormously huge, fat, not very attractive women with little kids, and I just think, who on earth was crazy enough to do that with you? Because, like, I'm sorry, I just couldn't. Really, I mean, I wouldn't get it up for a woman like that. I just wouldn't. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. If you're a troon and you go with a troon, that's gay. That's totally gay.
Yeah, I remember like there was a bit of online kind of scandal because apparently there's this like I don't know dating show or whatever, or some like naked bodies show or whatever, where they paired up a troon with a bloke. This troon was convincing enough that the bloke actually didn't realise it was a fucking troon. So then he's with her, like he's sleeping with this damn troon, and it's only after they tell him, "Oh yeah, you're screwing a transgender person who like transitioned from male to female." And the guy was just like,
"So you're gay. You're gay. If you do that, you are gay."
He was deceived in that scenario. So what would you do about that bloke who was deceived? Like he was never told about the damn thing being a troon.
I've never seen really a convincing one. I have to say, Mitch, I haven't.
But I mean,
there's always something that gives them away, whether it's their Adam's apple or their big square shoulders or their jaw or something. There's always something that gives them away, mate. I mean, I've had people tell me about what's that American troon who's quite well known because supposedly right wing. Can't remember his name now. But yeah, never convincing to me. I've got to say, sorry. Doesn't look like a woman. Looks like a bloke pretending to be a woman.
Yeah, it's what I mean. I'd say the most insidious part is like, it's bad enough with a male to female because you got to think they've got to have their genitals buggered off, and that itself creates a lot of problems. But then it's also but in terms of its sheer appearance, like let's say, like I don't know, for example, you get these female to male, and it's like, for example, they'll grow, and because they're like taking in testosterone into the system, it's a case of they grow mustaches, they cut their hair short, which just looks ugly on them. You still got the feminine like face, like this sort of like the skin that looks like soft as snow or whatever. It just looks very unmanly, and it just looks like a perversion of nature.
And then you see the scars where their tits were cut off and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just insanity, man. It's just insanity. Patriotic Archive has got the name right, by the way, but yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, that does not look like a woman to me. It looks like a bloke pretending to be a woman. And as many people have said, that's one of the more convincing ones. Loads of them are much less convincing than and people are going on again about Evelyn in the chat. Listen, I don't think troons belong on the right. I'm sorry, they don't. You won't find them on my streams ever. Because I'm sorry, we're supposed to be trad, we're supposed to be reactionary, and that is not troons.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that twat in Ukraine recently. Did you see the video, Mitch? You might have seen this because I know you follow that stuff. Where the poor dude who'd lost his leg or something, the Ukrainian.
Yeah, I saw it because I shared it. Yeah, I shared it. It looked like he was going to be Fottler. Well,
and the guy's looking at this thing horrified. You can just see his expression. He's horrified at this thing being next to him.
Yeah, he's just looking at this and go, I can't believe, like, he's just thinking, I mean, Ukraine's just fighting for creatures like this to run Ukraine. It's literally just, it's like Thomas 777. Like, there's a quote I always post on Twitter every so often by Thomas 777, where it goes, people like that troon creature, or Hillary Clinton, or other people like that, literally just a psyop onto the world itself. In that, the Americans will bomb your country, and then they'll send some sort of like, I don't know, gay Jewish ambassador or some troon or someone like Hillary Clinton to visit you. And if you don't perform within small parameters of what they deem acceptable, then they'll just bomb your country even more. But this time, they'll also bomb it so that your children turn gay. And it's even worse. Like, people think Caligula was insane for turning his horse into like a consul or whatever it was. And then you get the American Empire and how it shamelessly operates in the Middle East, for example. and you just go, like, you can't work with the American empire in its current form. Like,
no. Look, there are many good American people, but not their government. But it's the same in Britain. There are many good British people, but not their government. It's also the same in Australia. Many good Australian people, not their bloody government. Can I just say to Liam Gray in the chat, I've never seen AA ever say anything like that, and I think you're lying, mate. And if you keep that up in my chat, I'll ban you, and I mean it. Because I've never seen AA say anything even remotely like that, so you're wrong. And he's also a married dude with a daughter, so give it a break, mate.
You got to admit, I was suspicious how he bloody keeps having that creature on his stream.
Oh, look, I think he is wrong to have, as you say, that creature, and there was another one earlier, Rose of Dawn or something. I wouldn't have either of those people on my stream.
Who's Rose of Dawn?
But another true. But yeah, I wouldn't have either of those people on my stream.
Yeah, but I mean, for example, that creature went on Ed Dutton's show. A lot of people created stink about it because they thought, okay, Edward Dutton's meant to be some sort of biological determinist and all this, but he's accepting shrooms onto his show. And when people
Dutton does some strange stuff, Mitch. I gotta say, he does.
Well, I don't watch him, so I'm technically sub to him, but I don't watch any of his stuff because he just comes across as pretentious. I mean, he argues against dysgenics all the damn time, saying, "Oh, humanity's going down a cliff" and all this, but he won't ever accept eugenics as a solution to it, which just seems completely illogical. Like it's like he wants to black pill you about how bad like genetics are these days in terms of good men dead, yada yada yada. But then he just doesn't want to accept eugenics might have to be necessary in some circumstances or whatever.
I don't know. Look, I get the impression that Dutton is chasing views and subs, and you can see when people do that because they'll veer around to whatever it is they think is going to get them subs and views. And I think Dutton does that quite a lot, to be quite honest. I'm not a huge fan of Dutton for that reason. I just think he is chasing views and subs too much.
Yeah, and the way he handled the controversy about it was just even worse because he just went, "Oh, well, if you don't want trannies in the right wing, then you might as well bugger off over the hope not hate." And I go, I mean, is it just what is going to happen to the right now, where in 5 years' time we're just going to have like tranny quotas because, if you don't like it, you can always just bugger off to Reddit or hope not hate because apparently.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right, Mitch. Like I said, you will never see anyone who is a self-confessed troon on this channel. I might have someone on who was gay, providing they don't make a big deal about it, but I wouldn't have a troon on them. Sorry, no way.
Yeah.
Tricky Woo, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I mean, it's what? I don't know. I might end up leaving in a minute because I can't think of anything to say, to be honest.
That's all right. That's all right. We got a couple of super chats we're going to answer in a minute if you want to hang on for those. But we're not going to go much longer.
Yeah, I've got nothing to talk about. No.
You didn't have a first subject for this week like you should have.
I mean, he was literally. I only knew about the National Party having its own split between Justin Barrett and James Reynolds, plus this Lawrence Fox stink, and that god awful bitch. The controversy started over, but other than that, I've got nothing to talk about.
Vulture brings up a good point here, Mitch, that I did want to ask you about because I saw a little bit of this. I couldn't watch much of it because it was so pathetic. What do you think of Elon's struggle session with all, what was it, 8 or 9 Jewish people on X? No, I watched it for literally about, I don't know, probably 17, 18 minutes, and then I thought, this is really boring. But did you have an opinion on it?
I mean, people. So what? So you get Elon Musk. I mean, he got pressure. I mean, I don't really know what to think about Elon Musk because I mean, it's like he's still part of the elite. However, he dissents against some of the stuff they do. Like, for
Some
example,
of them, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just what. To be fair, he's a bit of a weirdo by himself. Because I mean, look at how he names his children, or look at the kind of women, or look at the kind of women he hangs out with. Like it's just like what has been singers who pretty much reach him a roasty level.
Did you see the picture of the chick who used to be married to Johnny Depp, who he was screwing for ages?
I think I posted him in Discord at one point because Connor Tomlinson, who was like over on Sargon's channel, like he said to me, "I don't mind having 9 fingers with this chick," because she was cosplaying as some video game character.
That's right. I don't know. Amber Heard, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I looked at it and I thought, look, I've had girls dress up for me many, many, many times, like most blokes have. I mean, that's the whole point of lingerie, for God's sake. But would I want a woman to dress up like that? I've got to say no, not really.
Not video game characters, no. Like, if you were talking to me, well, I'd be dressing. I mean,
lingerie is literally women dressing up for men. That's the whole point of it. You've got to understand that as a star.
Well, I mean, it's like what the kind of stuff. I mean, I'd prefer if girls dress up. I don't know. Let's say I wanted to dress up with like a spicy German outfit, and I'll get I get a girl to dress like similar to the part, like dress as some like spicy German from like World War II, but with a nurse uniform or something. That'd be more my shtick. It won't be video game characters, but. I mean, I don't really know what to think about Amber Heard anyway, because I mean, she's submissive towards Elon Musk, but she was abusive towards Johnny Depp, which I'm thinking, okay, is it just a case of Johnny Depp was just too weak or something around her, or was he just a complete pushover, whereas Elon Musk was a lot more authoritative?
I'm not going to pretend to know, but I do think Amber Heard was a bit shitty.
I mean, it's rather something about how she was submissive towards Elon Musk when they were in a relationship, but then got Johnny Depp, who just allowed himself to get bossed about by Amber, and I go, okay, this is why I don't. At some point, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, does this tell me something about how women just do not like weakness in a man?
Look, I would also say this to you, Mitch. Johnny Depp's very popular with a hell of a lot of women. So there could have been a bit of jealousy coming in there too.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, it's like what?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't get why women like Johnny Depp, but loads of them do.
I mean, it depends on Johnny Depp. I mean, let's say I can understand. Let's say around the 90s, like with Sleepy Hollow, for example. I can understand back.
Yeah, that's not a bad film. Yeah, no, I don't know that.
But let's say Johnny Depp. But it's like, I don't know, like, for example, you got the whole look of him with Johnny, as like playing as Jack Sparrow, like a scraggly facial hair and whatnot. You just think, I wouldn't be attracted to that if I was a woman. But,
I long ago gave up trying to work out what women think is attractive in men, and I just do me. And some women like that, so that's all right. But, it's like... love of my life had a French maid's outfit because I liked her in it, and it was a really, really cute French maid's outfit, that she actually had made. But I like that, so I'm not against women dressing up. The women have always done that, and like I said, that's basically the whole point of lingerie. It's women dressing up nicely for their bloke. But why would you have someone dress up in, I don't know, some sort of cartoon outfit? I don't get that at all. But,
I mean, you do know about Elon Musk. He names his kids, but the names he uses for his kids seem like they come from like that Tron Legacy film or whatever. Just in terms of the names he uses for his kids, like X, and then load of numbers instead of letters.
Oh,
and cool. I'm pretty sure California themselves actually rejected the names of his children, that batshit crazy that even California rejected them on the legal document. So
I don't get that. I mean, the other thing is that we all know when we were kids, like, you need an okay name, because if you have a stupid name, you're going to get the shit taken out of your skull. That just happens. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, you do.
Why don't parents know this? I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, so what I can remember saying one joke because, like, I remember like one time, like a few years back, like before COVID. No, we were in a conversation with like I don't know trannies, like with a bunch of mates, and like, one guy asked me, "Oh, what would you name like your kids?" And I go, "I said like such and such for male, but if I had a daughter, I'd call it Isabel." Oh, why is that, Mitch? Oh, because if Isabel wants to turn herself into a man, she will have to call herself Isabelland.
Well, look, my son is the same name as me, which is the same name as my dad, same name as my granddad, same name as my great granddad, and I think the one before that as well. And if I'd have had a daughter, she would have been called Victoria or Elizabeth, because traditional British names. So there we go. That's my deal with names.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for blokes' names, I managed to sort of pick like old Anglo-Saxon ones like Edward or Alfred or Edmund.
Yeah. Edward is a very, very base name in my opinion. But there we go.
Yeah. Whereas for women, it's like what? I mean, it can be a mix. I mean, I'm just trying to think their names.
Actually, well, you've got a lot of Athelreds and Athelfrieds and this kind of stuff, but you know way more about that than I would.
Yeah, it's like it's like you have a name Adele, but in English we have the word Ethel, which Adele and Ethel basically mean the same thing, but they both have the same roots.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I can understand why though. I mean, if you were to ask like your average guy on the street, what would you prefer to name your kid as? Adele or Ethel? They'll choose Adele, even though, I mean, because it's a German form of the name Ethel, because they both mean noble. So that'd probably be one name I'd give to a daughter.
My deal was absolutely Victoria Elizabeth, and like my wife at the time said, because we deliberately didn't find out whether the baby that she was carrying was male or female, because we didn't want to know. We just wanted to know it's healthy. You understand? So I said, look, if this is a daughter, it's going to be Victoria Elizabeth, and it took me, I don't know, probably almost 3 months to convince my missus that it was going to be Victoria or Elizabeth, because Victoria, great English queen, great British queen, and Elizabeth, great English queen. I'm talking about Elizabeth I, and Spanish Armada and all this stuff. My ex-wife's big objection was, but they'll call her Vicky. And I said, well, only if she wants them to, which is true. Like my full name, the only person who's ever called me my full name is my dad. Everyone else calls me a short version of it, which some people don't even understand. But I said to her, no, if she wants to be called Victoria, she'll be called Victoria. Like, love of my life was called Samantha. And some people called her Sam. I never did, because I didn't like it. Sam's a bloke's name as far as I'm concerned. I called her Samantha, always. So I don't get this shit. People will call you what you want them to call you. Although, if the love of my life had wanted me to call her Sam, I still wouldn't have. I would have still called her Samantha, because that's a girl's name. And it's a pretty girl's name. But, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I might shoot off in a minute. I can't think of anything to say.
That's all right, mate. Like I said, we're going to do a couple of super chats. I think we have a couple of super chats. I'm told we do. And so let me go and check this. Oh, we do. Here we go. Darth Kilhoun for $3. I just got promoted to sergeant in the US Army, and something I was told is the US military is preparing to downsize like Britain, because under the volunteer model, we cannot sustain the current number of units. All right. What do you think of that one, Mitch? Mitch, did you hear that? Hello? Oh, yeah, 555 in the chat. Don't know what you mean by pagan names. Really. Mitch is cut out again. All right. I will try and answer Darth Colhoun's super chat. I think America is struggling, just like Britain is, to recruit enough soldiers. And for the same reason. If you are absolutely going to push fat black African American women, LGBTQ types, every sort of brown and black immigrant in the UK, as the British Army and the British forces generally do today, you are going to get less and less of the basic white working class blokes who you really depend on to run your armed forces joining. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Darth Kilhoun. I got another super chat from Darth Kilhoun, also for US $3. Essentially, right now, the US Army internally is attempting to create a smarter military. But with the current policies of DEI and the dysgenic effect of current new recruits, we cannot accomplish that. Again, Darth Kilhoun, I just cannot do anything but agree with you. The British and the American military, as far as I can work out, I might be wrong about this, and maybe somebody like my mate Don the Pleb will put me right. He was a former U.S. Marine. But as far as I understand it, the U.S. Army and to some degree the U.S. Marines used to mostly depend on like Southern white dudes as their base force, just like the British Army depended on working class British white dudes as their basic dudes. If you are going to use everything you do about your military forces and you're going to make that anti those people, less and less of those people are going to join your military forces. And that is indeed exactly what is happening. Richard Ford, I agree with you. Freya is not a bad name for a girl. I agree with that. Not a bad name. And that is, I think, a pagan name for a girl. But it's a good name, for sure. But yeah, look, if you are basically depending on Southern working class white lads in America, or just general working class lads in Britain to fill up your armed forces, and all you ever do is promote diversity, and every time we hear diversity in 2023, you have to understand that diversity is code for anti-white. That's all it is. It's code for anti-white. And if everything the military in Britain or America is going to do is going to be anti-white, i.e. pro-diversity, which is anti-white, and then they're going to go on about LGBTQ and gays and fat black African American women and all the other stuff, who are basically useless in war. Basically useless in war, to be honest. You're going to get less of those Southern white lads and in Britain working class lads who make up the bulk of your forces and actually win your battles for you. And I think that's what's happening in America and in Britain. And it's also happening to some degree in Australia for exactly the same reason. Soloay is saying Freya is associated with February, goddess of fertility. Yeah, fair enough. No problem at all. Duke Valentino, I'm not arguing, mate. They are useless at everything. In terms of military stuff, yeah. Look, I was in the military for a long time. Oh, there was one other subject I wanted to bring up. There's a police chief in Britain who was wearing 2 of his brother's medals from the Falklands War in 1982. But he was wearing them. That's fraud. If you wear somebody else's medals, that is absolutely fraud. And this dude was a police chief, for God's sake. There is no excuse for wearing his brother's medals. There is none. And I think actually it was Midge who pointed this out. So I'm sorry Midge has decided to leave now and was also having internet difficulties because I would have asked him about this. But Duke Valentino, you're saying stolen valor. Yeah, but it's even worse if it's his brother's, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, I got 3 medals. I got a Northern Ireland General Service Medal from the very early 1980s from Britain, and I got 2 South African medals. One of them is a service medal, the other one was a campaign medal for Southwest Africa. And the only time I've ever worn them was I went to a military mate's funeral, and we had decided beforehand we were all going to wear our medals because he was a military dude. It's the only time I've ever worn them. But yeah, you can't wear other people's medals. I don't care if they're your brother or your sister or your gay boyfriends. You can't wear somebody else's medal. It's fraud. So yeah, and how this bloke, how can you have a bloke who's in charge of a British police force who's committing fraud? You know, he's trying to make excuses and saying, oh, my brothers couldn't keep these medals for some reason. All well and good. I got no problem if this dude had those medals in a cabinet in his home, but he's been wearing them. That is fraud. It absolutely is fraud. And you shouldn't do it. So, yeah. But I think it was Mitch who put that up on my Discord. But yeah, I thought that was most interesting. I mean, back in the day, out of this little 1872, like way back in the day, British war widows would carry their husbands' medals sometimes on Armistice Day, you know, Poppy Day, Armistice Day, on the 11th of November. But they wouldn't wear them, they'd carry them. And in Australia recently, it's become popular for the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of Anzacs to wear their medals on Anzac Day. And I guess it's all right for the kids, because, you know, if they're a child, you know, obviously they weren't awarded them. But I really don't think adults should be able to do that. And apparently you do get blue-haired feminists who walk around with their great-grandfather's medals, and their great-grandfather would spit on them for being what they are today. And I don't think that should be allowed. Richard Ford, that's pretty base, mate. I like Survive the Drive. I think he's good. He's a good historian as well. But absolutely, yeah, I don't think there's anything bad about that at all. But yeah, all right. So anyway, I think I've answered the couple of super chats I had. I hope Darth Kill heard they were adequate answers. 555 is telling me on Entropy that he despises all modern names, even the pagan ones. Well, I guess if they're a real pagan name, they're not going to be modern, are they? Because, you know, pagans were around before Christians were. So if you've got a real pagan name, like Richard Ford mentioned Freya earlier, that's an older name than Christianity. So I don't think you can say that. And look, I don't get. I really don't get, or try not to get into this argument between Christians and pagans. Like I'm a mod on Dave the Distributor's channel, as I indeed am on Apostolic Majesty's channel. But Dave the Distributor is absolutely a trial calf. Well, mostly, I suppose. I wouldn't say he totally is, but mostly. But I'm not Catholic. I used to be an atheist. These days, I'd probably describe myself as an agnostic. But I'm certainly not a total Christian. My son was baptized in the Church of England Church. I got married in the Church of England Church. More for tradition than anything else, but that's a fact. So yeah, Alex Little, your grandmother was from Tipperary and raised in a convent. Yeah, my mum was also in a convent and hated nuns for her entire life because of that. Apparently, they used to beat the shit out of her all the time. I mean, I don't know whether she was a good woman. I doubt it, actually. I don't think my mum was a very good woman. But, yeah. Anyway, look, I'm sorry, guys. I apparently started this stream way too early this week. Don't know why. Put it down to my boomerism, even though I'm not a boomer. Thank you very much for my guest, Mitch. Always great to have a guest on your stream, and Mitch is an excellent man. And also, thanks for a couple of super chats, and hopefully I answered those okay. I hope to be back next week with a stream on the part 2 of the Duke of Wellington's military career, which will mostly be about the Peninsular War. If I can get a good guest, I will try and get one, but if I can't, I'll do it myself, because that I can do myself. Having been reading about it for like 40 odd years. But anyway, we'll see. I'm going to play us out with a tune, and I really like this tune, by the way. Yeah, eventually. Yeah, all right. Hopefully you can hear me. That was, of course, from the excellent channel Patriotic Archive, who's been in the chat this evening. Do go and check out his channel. He's got some really good music, and I think that is a very good British sea shanty, basically about trawlermen in the North Sea. And a flash girl, for anyone who doesn't know, back in the day, that's a prostitute, by the way. Yeah, single men in trawlers and ships don't grow into plaster saints. But yeah, I thought that was a really good British sea shanty. And can I just say something? The Royal Navy didn't sing sea shanties. They had a couple of they had quite a few traditional Royal Navy songs that sailors would sing when they were off duty. But sea shanties really are the sort of thing that dudes used to sing when they were working on the capstan that was pulling up anchors or nets and all this kind of thing. And that was a merchant navy thing. So yeah. But many people don't get that right. They'll put up Royal Navy pictures with sea shanties. Royal Navy doesn't do sea shanties, and they never have. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Sail away. My internet connection's not that great, but hopefully you can hear me now. No, Patriotic Archive. The Royal Navy doesn't do sea shanties ever. Like when they're pulling the capstan around or they're pulling on ropes, the only thing the Royal Navy has ever done, and they still do it today, is they'll go 2-6 haul, 2-6 pull. That's the only thing the Royal Navy's ever done. Sea shanties were a merchant navy thing. So if you ever see a sea shanty with Royal Navy pictures in the background, the dude doesn't understand what he's talking about. But it doesn't matter. I mean, there are good traditional Royal Navy songs, like Spanish Ladies, for example, which sailors used to sing when they were off duty, but they didn't do it when they were working on the capstan or pulling on ropes, which is what the merchant navy used them for mostly. That's why they're called sea shanties. But anyway, there you go. Probably too much information for most people. Thank you very much to my guest, Mitch, who's always very welcome on here. Heart of Oak that's not even really Patriotic Archive. Heart of Oak's not even traditionally a Royal Navy song. It's a song which was sung in music halls and theatres and stuff. I'm not sure many Royal Navy sailors ever sang it. Spanish Ladies, yeah, the Royal Navy sailors used to sing that off duty, and you can kind of hear the difference. You know, it's a Royal Navy sailor saying, we've got to leave you, Spanish ladies, but one day we'll be back again. You know, it's kind of slightly different, if that makes any sense. But anyway, thanks to Mitch for joining me as my guest. I'm sorry, guys. Apparently I made this stream far too early. I'll try and work it out for next week. What can I say? Boom attack. There we go. Hopefully I will do a stream next week on Wellington's military career, which is basically going to be Wellington in the Peninsular War, when he beat just about he did beat every single French marshal who was sent against him, including some of the best. So, yeah, we'll do that. Take care, and don't give up the fight, boys. I'll see you soon.